All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I see Steve. How you doing, my friend? All right. We got Casey here. We got Kim here. I'm not sure who iPhone is, but you're here as well. Welcome, guys. We'll get started probably at about 11:33, 11:34. We'll give a few minutes here for people to just kind of step in, get hooked up, and get ready to rock. Let's see here. Steve, where are you? You're in Raleigh?
Yeah, Michael, I'm in Raleigh, and fortunately, we got really good weather here today. It looks like we're going to have an early spring, and so
Oh,
we're excited about it, man. Where are you?
I live just outside of New York City. I live in Westchester County, just about 30 minutes north of Manhattan. But I am in our Westport, Connecticut office, which is the Chirag Shah headquarters today. It's cold. It's like 26 degrees,
Oh,
we just got about 6 inches of snow on Tuesday. So, I'm ready for that spring thing too to hit us.
there was a whole winter thing that hit the entire Northeast, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were supposed to get like it was supposed to be 6 to 12 inches. So we got on the milder side of that. I don't know how Boston and some of the northern New York side did, but I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. So,
Oh, that's small potatoes for you.
it's that humid cold, though. I'll tell you what, it is not a normal cold.
True, much so.
I do like Raleigh, though. I haven't been down to Raleigh in a long time, but I've got friends that are just outside of it. Um,
You got to come see us.
yeah, I would love to come down there.
Yeah.
I was in Myrtle Beach last week speaking at a conference, so I was kind of in your neck of the woods, at least closer than I am in New York. But I was down in Myrtle Beach for the Econ conference for Coastal Carolina Association of Realtors. Um, so I do make it down to your world, just not often.
Yeah. I can imagine you guys' schedule is busy trying
It
to get
is.
us agents in line.
Man, between the agents and the programs and the stages and the conferences and kids' life and everything else in between, it keeps us a full plate, that's for
That's
sure.
right. That's right.
All right, if you guys are just joining us, we are going to give it about another 3 minutes here, and then we will get started. We're going to be talking everything digital lead conversion today. This is one of my favorite topics. So if you are tuning in, you are in for a treat because this is something I'm really passionate about. All right. We got Eric Feiner. I see lots of autopilots, Jims, Katie's, Leslie, good to see you from DC, Maryland area. Lisa Phillips, Indiana, sweet, Indy. Looks like Peggy's with us from Connecticut. Peggy, where are you in Connecticut?
I'm in Reading, Connecticut, which is north of Westport.
North of Westport. Okay. Yeah, I'm not
Near, close to you. That's why I come to the office.
I like it. Okay. I'm like, is that a far drive for you or is that
No, it's about 25 minutes, 22
Oh,
minutes.
that's not bad. I'm
Yeah,
about 30 minutes south is my drive time in the mornings, depending on
right.
what 95 looks like. But okay, so you're pretty close to us. Love
Yeah, crazy 95. So I hate
Crazy.
driving 95.
I'm with you. I am
They're
with you.
nuts on 95. What's going on with these people on 95?
Oh no. It's not just 95, it's just drivers.
Exactly. So
It's- At some point, we must have changed the rules on what it takes to get a driver's license. But
right. Oh,
welcome to everybody who's just joining us. I see Ryan's here from Dallas Fort Worth, Robert from Palo Alto. Hello. Sharon Armstrong. I see Shanna Yang. Let's see here. Who else have I not given a shout out to? I see Clarence just joined us. Diane
no.
Boyd. Hello. Let's see. Here comes Jen Dottie. Excellent, guys. We're going to give it about one more minute and then we're going to get started. Couple different ways to ask questions today as we go through this. Obviously, the chat is
Go outside.
easy way for me to respond to you guys and be able to answer questions, etc. But you can also take yourself off mute. I try to leave about 2 to 3 minutes at the end of every presentation just to address any Q&A and make sure that people feel supported will also stay on afterwards. As always, this is being recorded, and so this recording will be made available to everybody within the program here, normally by the end of the day, if not early tomorrow. So, all right. I think we got everybody in the door right now that was in the waiting room. So let's go ahead and kick off. Happy Thursday. Good morning to everybody from all over the country. Glad you guys are taking time to chime into this training session today. We're going to talk everything about lead conversion and really specifically digital lead conversion, because it's a very, very specific art and it's a specific topic. And out of all the training topics that I do in the prospecting sector, right, this is probably one that it's the most simple from a standpoint of concept, but it's one of the most difficult for agents to grasp. And we're going to talk about kind of why today. But for those of you who don't know who I am, let's see here. Whoops, where did my screen share go? There we go. Can you guys see that okay? Thumb up. Yeah? Okay, awesome. So for those of you who don't know me or don't know my background, I've been in real estate this is my 22nd year. I've taught real estate in 31 states around the country. I was originally licensed in Denver, Colorado. It's where I started my brokerage career. I've owned real estate companies. I have worked commercial. I've run commercial divisions. And formerly I was the head of residential for an 800-person brokerage in New York City. So I love this business. I love training on these topics. It's just a part of what my world has been. And I now currently still live here on the East Coast. So I'm here in New York, but I'm working today out of our Westport, Connecticut office. So let's first talk about, where do you get stuck, right? So briefly, if you can, put in the chat, where do you get stuck with digital lead conversion? Like, everybody's different, but I want everyone to pay attention to this, because there's a lot of people that will struggle in the same space when it comes to digital leads. So put in the chat real fast, where do you struggle when it comes to digital lead conversion? And I'll kind of try to keep track of this a little bit as they hit the chat. Engagement. Okay. So continuing the conversation, building a relationship. I assume that's what you mean, Sharon. Consistent follow-up. Robert, that's a big thing, period, right? In most of sales environments. Computer skills and understanding the how. Diane, okay, that makes sense. Engagement, thank you, Mary. Where else? Where do you guys get stuck when it comes to digital lead conversion? Like, this stuff is really, really, really important for us to address, because part of what makes any environment successful is kind of our expectation going into it, and like what it's going to look like and what it's supposed to look like. Ryan says, I've never tried digital leads. Understood. There's actually, it blows my mind. There's actually a lot of agents that have never tried digital lead conversion. And some of it is also because of what digital lead conversion requires for you to be successful in that environment. I don't play space at all currently. That makes sense, Brandon? Nope. Let's see here. Follow up. I see that. Thank you, Peggy. So when I look at this and I really look at the psychology of digital leads, we've got to start talking first about how digital leads actually arrive as a digital lead. Like, think about consumer behavior for a minute. The average consumer knows 7 licensed real estate professionals, 7. And so how on earth do they end up through Zillow, on a website, through Bold Leads? I mean, name any of the platforms, right, that you might be working with. If you're in the city, maybe it was Street Easy. How do they end up there if they consciously already know licensed professionals within their area? Not to mention all of the people, right, that market and send out flyers and send out things to the neighborhoods and door knock and have open houses. Like, how on earth does someone click and say, yes, I want to work with you, or I want more information from you, right? So number one, oftentimes the way that a digital lead enters your environment or gets into your pocket is because either A, they're looking for something very specific very quickly. Meaning, when I say specific, not necessarily looking to buy, but they're looking to get in to see a property, okay? Number two, they've been told no already by the listing agent, by the current seller of the property that they're interested in, by other real estate agents. They've been turned down for mortgages. Whatever it is, there's something that isn't right with their picture, right? And so they've kind of decided to go on it on their own, because whoever those 7 people are, 6 people are in their life, they've said, I can't help you, or maybe this isn't the right time, or maybe they reached out to real estate agents before and they just didn't get the same motivation because of the price point or the product that they're looking for. It's not a slam dunk. It's not an easy deal, right? And so people are like, oh, well, you're not ready. So keep in mind that digital leads, the overwhelming expectation when you enter into the digital lead environment is, number one, most of them are going to need to be repurposed. And I want you to write that down. Most of them are going to need to be repurposed, meaning that what they say they're looking for is not likely going to be what they purchase. Now, does that encumber 100% of digital lead conversion? Of course not, right? There's going to be some lucky deals. There's going to be some laydowns. There's going to be some easy deals where we just happen to connect with somebody on the right day, the right time. They just moved to the area. They happen to click on Zillow, and it is the property that they end up buying. Like, it does happen, but it's few and far between. So as we look at this, we've really got to set the expectation, right, of what does this look like for me as I get involved? A few years ago, I was working with a group of new agents, and it was 20 people in kind of a cohort class. And we were working digital leads, and we were teaching digital leads. And people were getting extremely frustrated by the lack of pre-qualification time that they were able to get on the phone. They were like, people won't engage, they won't get in conversation, they're blocking you right off the bat. It seems like I can't ask questions. How can I tell if these people are even ready? You know, how do I not waste my time? And the answer to that is you don't. And I just want you to sit with that for a minute. Like, you don't. There isn't a magic key to force someone to want to work with you over the phone on first contact on a cold call from a digital lead, right? There's no magic. Like, you might have a really responsive personality that can keep someone on the phone a little bit longer than somebody else. But at the end of the day, digital leads require us actually wasting some time to go meet with somebody, right? Setting up a showing, taking an appointment, etc., just so that we can get this face-to-face thing that we love to do, right? This isn't going to get us far with a digital lead. It's not. They chose this technology department to get through to you because they wanted to avoid to have that conversation. So the way that we basically are going to be looking at how to approach this particular conversion is very specific. It's very simple, but it does require a little bit of your mindset to change, right? So if we look at all the perceptions that you have as a real estate professional, and we say, okay, look at your experience, look at what your mentors told you. They said, well, be careful that you don't waste your time. Pre-qualify people early. Make sure that they've already started to talk to a mortgage broker. Make sure that, you know, that the seller has all of these things if you're going to take a listing. Like, there's all of these things that have already hit our brain that we've been taught to be careful of and watch out for. And so now we enter digital lead conversion and the digital lead environment. We're like, okay, well, hey, it's so-and-so with Compass, right? You know, you just called my phone, or I just got your information, and let's start about talking with, like, what are you looking for? Now I'm into this pre-qualification phone call, and it doesn't work. They won't engage. And I see the struggle over and over and over and time again. And so what happens is then we get frustrated, right? Conflict theory, guys, I've been teaching negotiation, mindset, and psychology for the better part of 15 years in areas of government, military, finance, law. And it's the same thing with even like marriage counseling 101, right? When we have an expectation of what something is going to look like, and that expectation isn't met, it immediately causes frustration. We get angry, we get upset, it erodes trust. Right? It's the same thing that if we have an experience in the past, if that experience isn't duplicated, we get then this lack of expectation, and it generates frustration. So for many of you, your experience with digital leads is frustrating, and it causes anger and it causes upset. And you're like, I don't want to deal with this. This is a waste of my time. None of these people are ready. But a lot of that had to do with the expectation that you had coming into this environment. Are we on the same page there? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So we'll talk about like the digital environment here in a minute, but the most important attributes of digital lead conversion, there's 2 of them. Like I said, I'll make this super simple for you today. I don't know where I just got balloons. But it's speed to contact and speed to showing. Now, showing could be conversed with appointment, but most people, if they are coming through a website like Zillow, like some sort of what we'll call a catch website, where you are spending money on Facebook ads to generate leads through some form of website, if it's coming through Compass, if it's coming through any other paid source, realtor.com or OpCity, I think it's actually now called Ready Connect. Bold Leads. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that are out there right now. But any of these sources, when you get a lead that hits you, I got to get to them fast, and I've got to get them into activity. And I want to repeat that. I want to get them into activity. The activity typically is showing a property, because the majority of digital leads are buyers that are looking to get into a very specific property. They've located a property. The information request that you get actually has a property address that they're interested in. And so what they're not interested in, notice how they didn't say, I want to hire you. They're like, hey, I'm trying to get information on this property. So the faster I can get them into that property or some property, the better. And so I want to take you through these two attributes, and we'll talk about the digital environment. Okay. The first one, speed to contact. That means be prompt. Now, there are a lot of statistics on this out there that show that, within 10 minutes, the probability of their response goes down substantially, like 40%. So by the time you get that lead, when it comes through, when it hits your phone, your device, your email, whatever you've set up as the notification, like, you have to be on it, which means when you are working digital lead environments, one of the mistakes that agents make is that they turn on these systems and they let them go all day long. Well, you're not available all day long. You're not, right? And so you want to make sure that you spend time within your system to set up the parameters of turning it off and saying, I'm not available for calls, at 8 a.m. or at 4 p.m. because you're picking up kids, right? Because the minute that call comes in, you got about a 10-minute window. And then your probability of contact goes substantially down, right? When you get that contact information, do not just send a text message. Do not just call back and make a phone call and leave a voicemail. Send an email, send a text message, call them back. Multiple forms of communication, so they know, like, you're on it. You got their information and you've hit them in several different areas. Because sometimes for some people, you might call them and they're like, oh, I'm not ready to talk to somebody yet, right? So then I sent you a text or an email and you're like, oh, I don't check my email that often. I only check it once a day. So then they don't get back to me till later. And then maybe they've already found a solution, right? And so I like to send an email, a text, and a phone call to anything that comes through. It hits then the priority or the possible vehicle of communication that someone wants to use. I'm giving them all of the options, right? And for most of you, yes, the fortune is the follow-up. You guys have a great CRM system. When it comes to Compass tools and technology, you guys have one of the best that's out there. Set yourself up reminders every single day, guys, because there is no higher priority in your business, okay, than lead follow-up. There isn't. It's what keeps your doors open. It's what keeps the lights on. It's literally a part of what every single person on this phone call should be set to do every day. Every day I've got follow-ups. Right? If you don't have follow-ups, then I've got to create the phone calls in order to have follow-ups the next day. That's where we're at. So follow-up, sometimes it takes 4 to 5 times. Most sales, in fact, 4 to 5 times is kind of the magic number before I write them off. Before I set it to maybe contact again a week later, a month later, 2 weeks later, whatever it is, but 4 to 5 times. And I'm pretty aggressive in that 4 to 5 time follow-up. And I'll get agents to say, Mike, well, I'm going to make somebody mad if I'm following up 4 to 5 times. Fine. These aren't friends of yours. These are digital lead conversions. You didn't know them prior to this, right? They contacted you or you got their information from this particular source. Pound the phones, pound the communication. If they don't respond, let it go. And don't have any sort of judgment on it, okay? This is a numbers game, and it's a very simple numbers game. Speed to showing. I don't care what you show them. Show them anything. The purpose of the showing isn't to actually get into activity that may find a property that they want to purchase. The purpose of the showing is that I'm going to treat it as my first informal meeting. That's where I get to qualify. That's where I get to start to repurpose. I get to know them. I get to practice engagement. It is easy for them to ignore you on the phone. It is easy for them to ignore your texts. So put them into a position where it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to bribe you to get there. You want to get in to see a property. I want to get the time to be able to pre-qualify you, right? If I try to gatekeep you, you're going to go right around me. You're just going to go to the next agent to get access. Is everybody clear on that? Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade access for pre-qualification. I'm going to say, listen, let's go look at a property. And while you're there, now I've got you. Now it's face-to-face. Now I can create a relationship. I can ask you questions. I can build trust. I can teach you things, right? One of my biggest things when it comes to digital lead conversion is find something that I can teach a prospect. Because what I learned a long time ago, and I actually learned this from an FBI criminal investigator, was that when you teach people things, if you can teach someone how to think about a property, about real estate, about a scenario, about mortgage, about finance, something that's creative, something that's fun, and you open up their brain, they will always come back to you as the resource. They will always come back in regards to working with you. It's like one of the fastest ways to create trust is to teach somebody something. Questions on that so far? Doing okay? Let me just check my chat real quick. Agreed, I've seen that happen. Where do they go? How do I track digital ads? Mary Peterson, are you able to come off mute just to kind of give me a little bit more detail of your question? Maybe not. Yeah, give me your,
Sorry.
there we go. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm a little digitally challenged, obviously.
It's
Well,
okay.
I know you put it to answer or to speak more about my question is you can isolate and direct to the zip codes that you want to,
Yep.
but I never get a response. Not, and I try to do different things. I'm creative, so I use a few words, that might grab them, but
What is it
now
that
that
you're trying to get a response to? Like when they reach out, you immediately contact and you never hear back? Is that
no, like I don't hear anything. I never
anything?
get a lead, but as you were talking, my problem may be my speed and not putting those hours on.
I'll tell you, it's one of the biggest things, right? What platform do you work with when it comes to leads?
Like referral exchange.
Okay.
There's Zillow leads and
So like, for instance, and I'll use Zillow because it's
Compass is my vehicle. So
right.
I assume they shoot out from there.
Okay.
And I understand their technology very well, but as you're speaking, I think it's me because my leads come in like 8 at night. I'm not on the computer.
Right. And here's the thing. If you see that your abundance of leads are coming in at 8 o'clock at night, right? When do we need to be on the computer? Like, listen, I'm all for balance. Don't get me wrong. I am. I'm the type of guy who wants to quarantine, the 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I've got time for my family. Like I don't work. I don't think that a real estate professional should be available 24/7, right? I don't. But if I'm noticing something in my business, if I'm trying to grow my business, right?
Right.
And I notice that all the leads are coming in at 8 o'clock at night, then a few days a week, I might say, hey, I'm going to take a period of time and I'm going to work leads from 8 till 9 o'clock at night because that's when they're happening, right? This is when the consumers are jumping online and saying, let me search for property because they just got home from work, etc. So I'm not saying that has to be your personal choice, but it's a consideration that instead of blocking the leads that are coming in at 8 o'clock and turning that off and saying, okay, I don't want to take leads at that time, right? Change your window to take leads at that time, but be in front of your computer.
Yeah.
And just see how that switch, because time is one of the biggest variables When it comes to speed to contact, it is the biggest variable in regards to response and engagement with digital leads, right? Then from there, it's ensuring that we try to get them to a property as quickly as possible with very little barrier of entry. Because the more barriers of entry I put in front of them, the more they've already heard those barriers of entry before, which is why they became a digital lead to start with. And so then it's like, well, I don't know you and I just want to get into this property, right? Is there a high probability they've already seen the property that they're looking at right now? Yes, there is. That they went with a cousin, they went with a friend, they went direct to the listing agent. There's a good chance they went to an open house or something of that nature. And now they want to go back with somebody else and they didn't like the listing agent, or maybe they made an offer. Like, I can't tell you how often I will have a lead that would come in on a very specific property and I find out that they've already made an offer. Like, they won't say that to me when I contact them because they have an agenda that they don't want to deliver to you. That's why they're going on their own. And so there's a lot of different things that we have to just work on repurposing when it comes to digital leads. But the very first is the timing. What else we got, guys? We got about actually 5-6 minutes here left for questions. And I'd really want to address specific things. What are the top lead platforms to use? So Ryan, here's what I'm going to say, right? As much as Zillow has changed kind of the way that their flow works, they're still right now, out of all platforms, bang for buck, the highest ROI out of any platform in the country. They're still at the top. Bold Leads has done better. I have agents that are pretty savvy with social media, Facebook ads, and they've been able to find like a niche. Like, if you work a very niche market, having one of those companies that will build you like a landing page, and then they will just send ads to buyers and sellers that will catch that niche landing page, is probably one of the most unique. But, you know, again, like, I could go to one environment where, I'll give you an example. I had a guy 2 years ago who lives in Westchester County, New York. He did nothing but Zillow. He spent about $4,000 a month. It was his first year in business. He's never been licensed before. He did $12 million in sales just off of Zillow leads. He did nothing else. That was all he did all year round, right? He didn't go to networking events. He didn't prospect in any other aspects. He didn't reach out to a social sphere. Like, 100% of all of his transactions came from Zillow. Where then I can also go places where they're spending $4,000 a month and they're not getting the number of leads that are necessary for that volume spend. And so it is kind of zip code. Sometimes you do have to spend 3-4 months finding what works for you in your marketplace and within your zip codes. And keep in mind that when you sign up for lead platforms, it's attractive to want to say, oh, I want to break into the really wealthy community over there. Fine. But understand that when we look at the saturation of where are all of the buyers and what's the average price per market, I want to be right in the middle. In fact, even middle to low. That's what I want to work on with digital leads, because there's a ton of people that come through there, right? If I just pick the high, it's very few and far between on the leads that I'm going to get there, right? So some of it is also kind of crafting a good strategy on that. When they just want room info and that's it. Sometimes that happens, Diane. Zillow, when all they want is just like, hey, I'm just wondering, you know, can I get some info on this property? Absolutely. But keep in mind, if it's speed to contact and I get to that question from a lead, I want to also say, let's go see it tomorrow. Let's go check it out. Are you available tomorrow or Friday? Are you available Friday or Saturday? I'm going to give them 2 choices. I'm not going to say, are you available? I'm just going to give them 2 choices. Okay. And that's how I'm going to try to engage my conversion, is I want to get you out and see something. And if you're like, no, I don't think I'm ready, I just really wanted to get information on this property. Great. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at that property. I'm going to find 2 to 3 other properties that are similar. And I'm going to send them those properties and say, these are actually really similar properties. If you are interested in that one, let's go compare these. Let's go see these. It's suggestive activity all of the time. Constant suggestions on getting out and doing something where I can get that face-to-face opportunity to build a relationship. That's the best way to convert on digital. Wendy, I see your question. I understand the thinking of low barriers of entry and show them property, but how do you do this knowing many associations and brokers are encouraging the use of the buyer broker agreement and encouraging to have this document signed as early as possible? And I think you hit it right with your last words, as early as possible, right? This isn't a forced entry. I can't ask you to be, a no brokerage owner, manager, et cetera, is going to be like, hey, before you open a door, make sure that you have an agency agreement. It's like, that's fear speaking. That's us scared that a consumer is going to have the choice to choose someone else. Because at the end of the day, even with an exclusive agency agreement in place, buyers can still break that agreement, go somewhere else. And unless you are going to take them to court for it, right? It's the same aspect. So yes, it's a little preemptive to want to say those things, but at the end of the day, like, I've got to trust that what I can bring to the table as a professional is enough. It doesn't mean I want to avoid the conversation of buyer agency or buyer exclusive, right? I want to talk about it, but I can't talk about it at hello, I met you through this little website, right? Hey, by the way, you want to become my exclusive date? You want to marry me today, right? Let me show you something. Let me teach you something. Let me support you in taking action. I don't even know if I want to work with them moving forward, right? Let alone they want to work with me moving forward. So these types of environments with digital leads is a little different than if I'm prospecting or networking within professional environments, or if I'm circle prospecting, right? Because I don't know these people, and the only way to get to know these people, because the phone calls are not going to work. Like the, hey, why don't you come to my office? Let's meet, isn't going to work. The meet me at the coffee shops isn't going to work. But the let me go show you the property you're interested in or something that's similar will work. And for the agents that are thinking, well, that's kind of a waste of my time. Well, do you have $4 million in closings this month? Do you? Because if you don't, it's not a waste of your time. It's practice. It's meeting people, it's converting people, and that human being now becomes a contact of yours. So even if we can determine that they're not ready right now, I'm putting them now responsibly on a nice crafted communication plan for the next, 2 years, whatever it is. Peggy, feel free to take yourself off mute as well if you want to jump in and ask a question.
Yeah, I think, I'm listening to you. You got to get in there and meet them right away. We have to be cautious. There's a lot of crazy people out there.
There are.
So I don't, what I try and do, I have them come into the office first. I know you're saying, forget stopping at the office, whatever. No, I need to see them, meet them face to face, be in a public place. And I have a standard I've set consistently with any new leads, because there are a lot of crazies out there.
I don't disagree.
Especially as women, we have to be careful. We cannot, because some people have called and, oh, can I meet you? Yes, I get out of work and this is in the winter and it's, yes, I could get there at 6. No, I can't meet you at 6. I'm sorry. I can meet you tomorrow. Let's start at the office.
Right.
So I think that's important that we don't.
And I don't disagree with you. I think safety will always be a primary above and beyond anything else. Right. And I would be lying to say I'm not ignorant to the fact, as being a guy who's 6'2", 250 pounds, that like, I don't think about that as much as other agents in the business. But it is something that I have to create possibly a barrier for. Now, there's a lot of ways to go about still being smart and safe that don't necessarily require them coming to my office prior. But if that is the way that you've created your protocol, because it makes you feel the best, 100% go with it. For me, my litmus test is always, what's the result? If no one is wanting to meet at my office, then I've got to change. But if I'm able to convert people from the digital basis and they will meet at my office, continue to do that. I definitely wouldn't tell you to stop doing that. But if the result, I get blocked or people don't want to meet there, great, then I'm bringing another agent with me. I'm possibly meeting them instead of meeting them at the property to start with. I'm setting the showing, but I'm saying, hey, I'm going to meet you at the coffee shop a block down, and then we'll drive over together. I'm meeting them then somewhere more public to begin with, outside of the barrier, possibly my office. But there's a lot of other ways that we can look at that. But I absolutely appreciate that, Peggy. And I think that that's a great point to make for people.
And I did get a lead and on one of my listings. So what I did, and he had a tight schedule. He was flying in from the Midwest, and he had no time to come to the office. So what I did in that situation, I did hire. I gave someone from my office $25 and then took him out for lunch, and we had a good time. But we went, and I was like, "Oh, this guy is so nice. He was wonderful. He and his wife. It was great."
Oh,
But
good.
and then he ended up buying the house, which was great.
Which is and I'll tell you, obviously, as a listing agent, when you get a lead on your own property, there's a little bit more. It's a little different than the environment where literally I'm getting blind leads, dozens a week, from people that are just trying to tag properties and are completely, unaware necessarily of the situation, the marketplace, whether or not they're qualified. They truly are cold. So I like that. Diane, you wanted to, I think you wanted to come off mute and give an example as well. And Brandon, I see plenty of people have asked you in the office to tag along on a showing when they're not comfortable going. Let's see here. Awesome. Well, I want to stay respectful of everybody's time. I know that these are 30-minute slots. And I did see the feedback that people want more topics, like more of these kinds of topics, like more examples, how to overcome them, scripts to talk about, situations and role plays. I think this is also really good for the larger live sessions as well with Chirag, because he's really good at this as well, as far as just vocalizing. And Diane, no worries if your mic's not working, that's okay. But I will look forward to doing more on this, and I'll talk to our team about scheduling more sessions around this topic, because I think it's a really important one. And I think that whether it's cold digital lead conversion, or whether it's even just working open houses or digital or lead conversion in general, it's a big piece of information that we all want. So
Can you
more
hear me now?
discussion. I love it. I appreciate it. Cool.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Hi, Diane.
Okay, good. Then I fixed it. I just want to give a quick thing. So when
Yeah.
I've had people call me on my listings, chances are they're probably not going to necessarily buy that listing, and they're just starting to look. So what I ask them always is, hey, well, while we're out, is there any more you would like to see? And they're like, oh, you can do that. Of course. So I put a whole folder together for them. The buyer's rep is in there. I don't tell them to sign it that day. I explain stuff after we meet at the first house. I say, hey, I've got this for you. We build the rapport. And then I go through the folder, or say, I'm going to go through it at the next house. And I tell them about the buyer's rep, but I say, I'm not going to have you sign anything. Now, what I want you to do is review it on your own again. And if you feel we are a good fit, then let's talk and sign it. They will normally call me right after the meeting and say, we want to work with you, because like you said, you have to build that rapport in person, which is
Makes
good.
sense. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Diane. Awesome, guys. I'm gonna go close this out today, but enjoy the rest of your week. If I don't talk to you, enjoy obviously your weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you guys on another prospecting session. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.